Hi, everyone, and welcome to Spotlight in Business by GTApreneurs for May 17th, 2021. I'm your host, Tammy Defoe, founder and business coach at GTApreneurs. I'm so happy to introduce to you today an amazing speaker and trainer, founder at Ovation Speaker Training, Jan Bailey. Welcome to the show, Jan. How are you doing today?
I'm great, Tammy. Thanks so much. I'm so glad to be here because I think what you do is an extraordinary service in a time and a place when we're all needing to get out and network and get out on a different level. I think it's fabulous what you're doing. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks so much. It is such a pleasure, right? And I'm so happy that you're going to be the guest speaker at our next open networking event. So everybody here who is available next Tuesday night, you want to be meeting other entrepreneurs, promoting your business, come on out because you're going to get a great presentation from Jan as well. And so while we're here today, Jan, can you please tell everyone more about yourself?
Sure, I can. The question that nobody really likes to do. It's funny, isn't it, how we don't like to talk about ourselves, and yet we want to go out and network. It really makes no sense if you think about it. But I am a former broadcaster and on-camera host, and so I'm one of those crazy people who likes this medium. I actually enjoy working on camera, which is really strange. I would admit that it would be nice if someone else handled all the technical aspects. I do miss that part of it. You know, running your own computer is kind of a different gig. But I'm from Ontario now. I'm originally from Alberta, but I've been here for a long time. So I feel like a local. So it's really great to be part of the GTApreneurs, which is fabulous. And I have, as you mentioned, I am a speaker and a trainer with Ovation Speaker Training. And that means that I get a fabulous opportunity to meet people on a regular basis who are trying to speak their truth, right? They're figuring out what their message is and they're wanting to present themselves openly and honestly in front of other people. And so I'm very, very lucky to get to meet all kinds of people. And from a personal, the usual stuff, right? Married, son, 2 dogs, all that kind of stuff, which is great. It's all good fun.
That's awesome. It's good to know you're a well-rounded person, right? And I think it's really unique, the background you have. You bring something extra special in terms of training people with speaking. Having this, broadcasting background, that's really interesting.
Well, it was really funny because prior to the pandemic, and I feel like that's sort of a time point in everyone's life, right? Well, prior to the pandemic, and
exactly.
I was in the classroom, like many people, right? We were in person, we were doing things face to face, we were doing things live. It was really exciting, whatever your business was. And so I was doing that, and I would fly here and there. I did actually a lot of work in the Middle East, which was very cool. So I would fly to Qatar, for some of you who know that, Doha is the city there, and do all this great training. And it was really exciting. And then all of a sudden, as with most of you, that just stopped. So I remember that feeling of, gosh, now what? Everyone's talking about pivoting and we've got to get online. And I was thinking, God, what am I going to do? And how am I going to pivot my business? And I really enjoy the in-person training, and oh my gosh, what will I do? And then I had one of those moments of, Jan, if you just thought about this for a moment, you would remember you used to be on television. You have some experience that you can share with people because they don't like the camera. They don't like to be on TV. And so it was this really ridiculous moment of, duh, right? When we have those kind of obvious things that, well, that's just makes sense. So I've made the shift, obviously, online, and it's extraordinary how many people are interested in saying, I really want to feel more relaxed, more comfortable in front of the camera. Can you please help? So it's been great, and I'm excited to be able to share some of those techniques and strategies with people.
That's awesome, and I mean, the thing is that a lot of people I know that are so reluctant, right? I even met a person recently. I went out for a walk with this person, and he's a realtor actually, right? And he's just like, no, I haven't done the Zoom thing yet. I'm like, okay, well, this is not something you should start starting tomorrow. This was something that, like a year ago, right? Like, it's like, if you're not online, right, you're going to be really difficult for you to get business. So, and that's the reality, is that on camera, video, this is how we're at events. This is how we're at meetings. And are you putting your best self forward, right?
Yeah, and most people, I think, don't even feel like they're putting themselves, let alone their best self, right? Because they feel disconnected from what's going on. So it's very difficult. So I don't think your realtor friend is unusual. I really don't.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, okay, that's good to know. I mean, like I host, so many networking events, I think, 27 events in the last year and that, right? So I'm used to doing it. I've got people coming out all the time. But, obviously there's still a few people out there that, they need to get going, right? But even with the people who are doing it now, it's better than not doing it. But on the other hand, it's one of these things where you never get a second chance to make a first impression, right?
It's true. And that just stresses us out, right? It really just stresses us out, because when you hit record or you hit play or you hit log in, whatever it is that's in your process, and that little light comes on your camera, whatever color yours is, automatically people get stressed. And I actually read an interesting article the other day. It was in National Geographic of all places. And it was about a man at Stanford, I think, who was doing some research about this whole notion of being online and being on camera. And he talked about two things that were the main stressors, one of which I'd not really thought of. And that was that, first of all, you're watching yourself, right? Because not only am I looking at the camera, I'm also seeing myself. And so that is a bit weird for people, because we're nervous enough sometimes about presenting. To have to watch myself do it live is a bit off-putting. So that was the first one. And the second one was because of, I don't know how far you are, Tammy, from your computer screen. How far do you think? What's the distance between your computer screen and your camera? Or your
2 feet. 2 feet.
And so he talked a lot about that infringement of personal space, so that we feel like the people that we're talking to, that we can see on our screen, they're too close, right? They're too close, and it feels uncomfortable. So people have a tendency, because you know what it's like when you're in real life, right? If you've got someone who's a close talker, right? What do? Well, is the same on the camera, because you feel like, well, you all are too close. And so we have a tendency to either kind of shrink because you're in a chair and you can't move, or if you're like me and you stand when you present, you have a tendency to step back. Well, that doesn't feel very good, because now you think, well, why is she moving away, right? It's interesting, that notion of personal space, even though I'm here by myself in my office, and so are you, that notion of personal space with the camera really is important. So yeah, a gentleman, can't remember his name now off the top of my head, but from Stanford.
Nice. Yeah. And I mean, some other things as well is sometimes you go to an event and all you can see is a person's face. Like some people have the opposite issue, right? And, they're not used to like looking and saying, okay, what are other people seeing? It's like you said, when we're in person, we're not really thinking about what we look like normally. We're thinking about the other person. But
exactly.
Right. Yeah. Right. But when you're on camera, it's different,
Oh my gosh, I know.
Right. And, people don't realize, even if it's a full event, an hour event, people are looking at you in your background the whole time. I know I'm looking at everybody. Right. And I can see. So, right.
People are leaning in, trying to read the books on your bookshelf.
Yeah. And you know what? And what and how you say is also important. Right. So, again, from hearing so many pitches and stuff like that, right. You have some people that still there want to go on for a minute, 2 minutes and stuff like that. And you have to cut them down, right. Or it's just not having a clear message.
Yes, and that is just that translates whether you're live or whether you're online. That doesn't matter.
Yes.
We don't have a very good sense of time. Most of us don't anyway, right? If someone said to you, Tammy, could you please speak for 30 seconds? Well, okay, what can I say in 30 seconds? Is that 3 sentences? Is that 10 sentences? And most of us, I think, underestimate that, and we end up talking for far longer because we haven't got our thoughts organized before we open our mouth. And that's just common. I think that's just common.
Yeah. And I mean, lots of people like talking. I know, since I've been doing the online events, and I know that I have a short period of time, and since I'm going to other people's events as well in a short period of time, I've actually gotten better at doing my own introduction compared to when I was in person. When I was in person before, I was talking way too much, right? Honestly, so it's kind of really trained me in that, right? But other people do need to work on that, right? And again, it's what your message is. Some people, like, they want to get in every detail, but it's not, we're supposed to be every detail. You're supposed to book a meeting, right? And some people, it's just vague. And like, I still don't know what they do after they're done talking, right?
And I think we're a bit spoiled, right? Because in person, at least you have a notion of other people's body language. Do they look like they're interested? Do they look like they're engaged? If I keep talking, are they still paying attention? Right. Whereas online, we lose a bit of that, right? So we're not able to read. So it's our responsibility to say, no, 2 minutes or 30 seconds, whatever it is, a minute, I think. A minute is a minute. And that's the end of it. And you're right, it is very difficult. So what do? Do you ding a bell or something? Maybe that's what you need, a little.
Yeah. Well, I hate doing this, but I have to do this because some people, the bell they won't even listen. They won't even hear the bell because they're talking, right? But I think the thing that I like to get across to people, right, is it's about the preparation stage, right? And this is where you really come in with your clients, is that before you go to the event, even before you're having one-on-one meetings and stuff like that, right, is to get some training and get the preparation. It's just like, I don't know if you've seen this or not before, but there's this picture that's went around social media over the iceberg. And you see the iceberg at the top and then the water here, but the big iceberg's all the way down, right? And that's where most of it happens is before you get there is all the preparation in advance, right? But you know what? It's good to take it for somebody who's a former broadcaster. I mean, you look fantastic. Your background looks fantastic. The lighting's great. And I think you could provide a lot of great information.
Well, it's part of the package, right? And we all know that. We all know that our image is comprehensive, right? And yet we just kind of pick and choose. We forget about it sometimes. So it's whether you think it's important or not. And I can tell you, and Tammy, you're doing the same thing. It is important. It's all part of the package. It's just like we talked a little bit earlier, you wouldn't send out an email to a bunch of clients with spelling errors in it. Well, that's part of your image. And so is your background. So is the way you present yourself. It's all part of your business image and the brand that you're trying to create and trying to put out there. So I think it's important that we kind of think about all of those things when we're turning the camera on, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like if we were to have a physical store, before you let customers in the door, right, you want to make sure your store looks a certain way. You want to make sure it looks its best. Things are laid out in a certain way, right? Just like, they have, I think a psychologist, they help out Walmart and all these big stores with setting up their, merchandising in a specific way that is going to maximize sales, right? And that's what you want to do. If you're at an event, it's great that you can talk great too as well and keep it to the time, but it's also, what are you saying? Are those messages, right, going to get you meetings or the meetings, are they going to get you sales, right?
One of the things that I often work with clients about, maybe this has got more to do with executives. Well, no, probably not. I don't know. I'll tell you, and you can tell me what you think. But usually what happens is people consider, we all know about what's in it for me, right? We all know that WIFM, what's in it for me. And so, but people have a tendency for example, me as a business owner, I know what I think you would want to hear about my business, right? So we have a tendency to talk at people. We have a tendency to say, here's what you need to know about my product. My product is this, and this, right? But we haven't really thought about, wait a minute, what is it that the audience actually wants to hear? And those are two very different kinds of messages and we do it. And I think the higher up you go in your organization, or maybe the further away you get from your clients, you forget to think about what is it that they want to hear? Not what do I want to tell them, but what do they want to hear? And there's a very subtle difference between those two things. And we would all be better served if we actually thought about that a little bit before we started to speak.
Yeah, because that is the most common way, just to think about what I want other people to know.
Yeah,
right. Right. Exactly. Even if you can keep it to a certain time, right. But it is more, what do those people want to hear or they need to hear to have them to say, yes, I want to get that person's services or that person's product. Right. That's the key, but yeah, so I'm more than happy to hear all about your different tips and everything. Right. Of course, people should be booking one-on-ones with you as well to get more detail about that. And you know what? Having webinars these days, right? This is another way to get great clients for your business. Some more people are doing courses and stuff like that. So it's even more important. I mean, you've got obviously the events you're going to and things like that, so you can hopefully help getting people too. But then when you're doing a webinar, you're inviting these people and, they're going to be spending however much time, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour listening to you, right? Mm-hmm. So this is something you definitely want to get training beforehand.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Never gonna.
And I don't think we don't. You said it earlier, right? When you're in a live event, you can just kind of keep talking until you think that whoever it is that you're speaking to understands what you're saying.
Yeah.
But imagine if you're doing a webinar, and like you said, I got 30 minutes or 45 minutes. That's it. And so I have to have organized flow. I have to have value for people. I have to be able to take people along on a particular journey that I want to take them on so that it makes sense to them. And the logical outcome is, okay, I would like to work with that person. I would like to work with her or him. And so I think what happens is that's very difficult for people to think in that A to B to C to get an organized product on a webinar. And because you said it earlier, we're used to just being able to kind of go, oh, here are all my ideas and just kind of throw them at people. So it's a different strategy, right? We're all a bit out of practice. Maybe we could do it in university when we had to write a paper and it had to be organized, but now we're not particularly good at that. So it really does take some focus and well, I think that's it, just some focus and some practice, really.
Exactly. Well, yeah, and that's all that preparation phase, right? And part of it is the construction aspect of it, the right wording and stuff like that, the timing of it, but then you also have the delivery, right? How you're saying it, this is the thing with the body language, right?
Yeah, and I've noticed, I don't know about you, but I've noticed that many webinars that I have, you sign up, oh, this is interesting, that's interesting. You sign up for a webinar and you go to them to sample. I've also noticed that many people now they're not on camera at all. It's simply a voiceover. It's slides with a voiceover, and there is no body language to be seen, right? Because it's just the slide with a voiceover. And I get, it's a personal choice. I prefer to actually see someone when they're doing a presentation, but I have noticed that the shorter webinars are often just slides.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's a little bit disappointing actually to find out.
I mean, honestly,
I don't have too much time to attend other people's webinars actually, right? I'm so busy in that, but I know for me that, and what I tell is, well, like when you're coming to my event, you're going to do this. I tell my other speakers to, before you get to some PowerPoint, take the time to introduce yourself, right? And to build that emotional connection with people first. Right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because you know what? People are going to do business with people they know, like, and trust. Well, how are they going to get to know you and like you if they can't see you, right? So the trust part's going to be the fact that, yes, this person's presenting this information. It sounds very credible, right? It's giving me lots of good ideas, but how, they need to get to know you and like you. Yeah. Right. So definitely. Right. Exactly. So then, and that sometimes people, it's just their comfort level, right? Okay, no, let me put slides in front of people and they don't have to see me, but people don't want to do business with the PowerPoint presentation.
No, right? I agree. Yeah. And I like to think, I always encourage people to think rather, remember, you're the expert. This is your business and you're the expert. So I want to meet the expert. I don't want to just look at words on slides. You could send those to me, right? Yeah. Just send them to me and I'll read them whenever I can. Because if I don't need to meet you or see you, I'll just take the slides. Thank you. Right. So
yeah.
Yeah, I would be interested. Maybe before we see each other the next time, I'll read some of the psychology behind it and see if there is some rationale behind the just slides and voiceover as opposed to being on camera. So I'm like you. I prefer to meet someone. So it's actually funny. The other day, I'll tell a quick story. I had met a person. I guess do we put that in air quotes now? Met a woman online several times, and we were doing some business together. And she was a client, and then we met, I don't know, 3 or 4 times online, doesn't matter. And then she came to she lived close actually. So she came to my house to drop something off. And I went outside to say hello and meet her. And it was like, I had this familiarity with her, right? I met, we chit chatted, we talked, and then all of a sudden I went, oh, we've never met in person. But the reason I'm telling you this story is because I was so surprised at how familiar I felt with her, even in person, in the flesh, right? And so I think it's important that people that are watching remember that there really is, when I can see you on camera, like you said, there is a warmth, there's a connection, there's a familiarity that is built, and that's important. That's important to humans in general.
Yeah, exactly. That's great. And how did you get into being a speaker trainer?
Oh, well, to be honest with you, a zillion years ago, I was an actor. And so I moved to Vancouver and I decided to get into the film and television industry. So I worked in film and television for a long, long time. I did a whole bunch of commercials. I was actually a stunt performer for a while, did a few films, and then I discovered small little parts. And then I discovered that what I really liked and what I was really good at And what I really felt connected to was hosting. So whether that was hosting a travel show or corporate videos, informational stuff, that sort of thing, where I got to walk and talk and interview people on camera. And I really found that was my niche. And then I moved here and continued to do that, and in Toronto, but the drive got a little bit of a challenge. So I worked for OLN, I worked for TSN, it was always contract, and was always the on-camera host type person. And then I did an interview one time with an organization, and they were looking to do some speaker training and some training in the Middle East, as I mentioned earlier. And I said, this was a number of years ago, and I said, well, that marries all my experience quite nicely, doesn't it? So off we went. So I kind of took all of the on-camera strategies and comfort that I knew, and I bundled it up with techniques for getting comfortable in front of an audience and about the physicality of presenting, and kind of put it all together. And I've got a master's degree in adult education and training. And so all of that kind of came together in this fabulous speaker training, and now on-camera speaker training experience. Yeah. That's the very short version, Tammy, of what seems like rather a long journey to get here.
Well, that's okay, right? But I think it's great because, that's some really impressive experience, and I don't know how many people out there are looking to aspire to be on TSN or whatever, but at the very least that you want to be getting that expert training if you can. So you can make, your video appearances that you are doing, make them really stand out, make them work for you, right? Because
my wish for people is just, I really just want the camera to come on and you not to be stressed, right? If you could end a business call or end a pitch session or end a networking event and not go, oh my God, I was so terrible. How nice would that be, right? Because it's just an added, you're under enough stress as a business owner, as a leader, as a team player, as an entrepreneur. That whole stress of the camera and having to be online added to that, it's just really a lot. So my wish for people is to help them recognize that they can be themselves on camera. And it's a bit of a journey sometimes, but it is totally possible.
Well, I really look forward to having you at our event next Tuesday night. Everyone out there, you need to register next Tuesday, May the 25th at 7:00. Register now. Don't wait until next Tuesday. Come out and see Jan. She's going to give us a great presentation, lots of tips from a super, super expert in the field. And we look forward to seeing